evening, everyone. Happy Monday. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 103.5 FM. We are on Roku, we are on Rumble, we are on Facebook, and we are on YouTube. I'm so excited to be with you all tonight, and I just want to share something with you. We have a wonderful sponsor now in our network. It's Carnation. I'm wearing red for them tonight. It is a great company. I want y'all to go experience them. They make great products, and we just love them, and we thank them very much for enjoying us on our network. Okay, so we have somebody that we near and dear and love tonight, and I'm just going to hand over to Preston right away. Go.
Thank you, Dolly, and thank you, Carnation, and thank you all for joining us tonight on episode 80 of The Light Gate. I'm your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is, of course, Dolly Saffron. We have a wonderful guest tonight, KAren Swain. I'll bring her in just a few minutes. She's a returning guest. We love her very much. She has her own show, too, so you can check that out. But let's just say hi to all you folks in chat on this wonderful Monday evening. I'll start with you, Michael Kennedy. Facebook is stupidly annoying. You know, Facebook, I am a member of it, but I just got kicked out, suspended. Not sure why. Apparently I violated some rule. It's not clear why. Hopefully I'll get back on. But if you're looking for me on Facebook, I am not there currently.
But you do have a professional page on Facebook. They can find info about the shows there.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
And I hope to be back as soon as possible. But I'm definitely on other platforms like this one, of course, YouTube and Rumble. And I'm checking out Reddit right now. I'm enjoying it. I don't know it very well. But, yep, I'm not the first one to get in Facebook jail. I'm hoping to break out soon. Thank you all for your prayers. Who else do we have here? We have Renee Cruz, ufologist. I am on my last postal work break, just like Barney Hill. Ah, cool.
Thank you.
Okay, Raul Melendez, looking forward to today's program. A strange feeling. I better pay attention to this one. Always pay attention to your feelings. Thank you, Raul. We truly appreciate your wonderful generosity. It means a lot. Helps us to run this show. So thank you. Thank you. Hello, Scuba Maru. Polly, huge hugs to Polly and Preston. Right back at you, Polly. Thanks for joining us. Michael says, I love Australian accents. Put another shrimp on the Barbie. Crikey. We'll get Karen to do a real one. Who else do we have here? The Owl Man 77. Happy Mondays.
Oh, thank you.
Always great watching and chatting too. Namaste. We can always count on you. Namaste. I don't know how to thank you enough, other than to say we love you, love you, love you. Thank you so much. Your endless gratitude. We have Peak here. Nice to have you here, Karen, she says.
Yes.
Rothwell. Hello to all you beautiful people.
Hello, right back.
Teresa Levine. We have Keith Bravo. I said, there's the lovely Dolly. pretty Dolly. Okay. There's a Harry Belafonte song. Okay, Louise, greetings from New Jersey. How can I help regarding Facebook? You know, Louise, I wish I knew. They're very hard.
I put up a thing. You can find it where it's a response, and in those lines, there's a Facebook, report a problem or something like that. Just go in there and complain to them. Tell them, put him back.
Yeah, I'm guessing I'll be putting. It was AI that somehow. I do post a lot. I think that's probably the problem. But I don't know. I only posted like 2 or 3 times boom, they knocked me off. Yep. Okay, we've got Olivia, blessings from SoCal, missing 411.
Good evening.
R.I.P.
Peanut. Oh, I know that squirrel. Beautiful, beautiful squirrel. Trained. A guy owned him. He rescued him. He was doing great things with him. He was making him a mascot of his sanctuary, and they went in there and took him and put him to sleep, and they've taken down most of the animals in his care. Very bad situation, and I'm upset about it as well. I keep up with all of that.
Oh,
First saying something. It's horrifying what they are doing to people who have animals in sanctuaries. It's very bad.
it's terrible. Wow. Scarlet Fire. Whoa.
Online. I will call you back. Okay. I love you. Bye. Sorry, that was my daughter. She's the only one I'll answer for.
Okay. Scared the daylights out of me. Hello, Scarlet Fire. We have Michael Kennedy. Here we go. Episode 80. I'm going to whip through this real quick because it's already 5 minutes in. Jim. Hello. Victoria. Keith Rowe. Oh, I forgot this was in the background. Jumped out of my seat when the music started. Every time the phone rings, I jump out of my seat. Kaleidoscope Eyes. Hello from Knoxville. Kaj. We have Ruth Kleiber. We have Becky Duncan. What a nice big crowd, you guys. It's awesome to see you all. Paula Hawks and Janice Connett. We have Cincinnati Kid. Just listen to you on Art Bell. Great work. Thanks. I miss Art Bell. I was on the show 3 times, and I loved every one of them. Am I back on yet? Not yet. Tomorrow, hopefully. Walking Trees. Hello. We've got Nicholson Neisler and Team Ginger. Being thrown off publicly media means you're speaking too much truth. Okay, who else do we have here? Ratzy and Bratzy. Love the Lightgate. I've seen every episode. Oh,
that's very nice.
Very kind of you. Keith Rowell. You are awesome. I have a ton of questions.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, you'll get answered. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to do a Q&A coming up not too far from now, but if you have questions, certainly put them in and we will try to get to them. First come, first serve.
Right.
And thank you again for the super chat.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hello, Chris. We have Garnet McLeary Price from England. Wow.
Hello.
And Mountain Dan. We've got a nice big crowd today. This is awesome.
I'm excited. Yeah.
We got Colin Collins from the Land of Oz. And last but not least, West Decker with a wonderful, very generous super chat. Thank you so much, West Decker. You guys are always so awesome. You just make my life that much brighter. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, let's get started with our show. I'm so excited to welcome back KAren Swain. She's been on before. Definitely check out the previous episode. But we have her back because she's just so much fun, has so much information to share, is super psychic. She's seen UFOs. She's got a lot going on. And for those of you who haven't heard of her, I will tell you a little bit about her. She's an experiencer, a spiritual teacher, mentor, galactic guide. She's a radio and podcast host. She's an author, an inspirational speaker, and much more. Her mission is to help enlighten others to recognize the power of their thoughts and beliefs and to live in alignment with their emotional guidance system. She's had a lifetime of extraterrestrial and paranormal experiences. As she says, I've had access to exalted higher perspective all my life, which meant I was always connected to guidance from my spiritual team. She's the founder at Blissful Beings Reminders from Home, creator at Awakened by Death, Stories of Transformation, which is a book she co-authored with Cyrus Kirkpatrick, and founder at Sydney Peace Day Festival. She has a growing YouTube channel, Awakening and Expanding Consciousness, and she has a show right here on this network. Currently resides in Sydney, Australia. We do have her links in the show description, so check that out. But without further ado, let's bring on our wonderful guest.
Hello, KAren.
How are you doing?
Thanks so much for having me back on the show. You guys are awesome. I catch most of your shows. I just love what you're doing in the world, both of you. And it's such an honor to be back on. And I just love your community. Your community is so wonderful, everyone that's listening. And I have to say, I just nearly fell off my chair when I heard Preston trying to do an Aussie accent.
No good? No good? Crikey. I'll work on it.
Crikey. Most Americans, when they try and do an Aussie accent, sound like Cockneys, like English Cockneys.
Yes, they do. Yep.
Even the famous Meryl Streep, when she did, she played The Dingo's Got My Baby. She was doing Cockney accents. They made that movie about the dingo that took the baby in
Yeah.
the outback.
You remember that?
Story.
Yes, you remember it. Yes. Wow.
Yeah. But it's great to be back on. It's so exciting. I love you guys. As I say, I didn't realize I was actually the guest today. I thought I was filling in for Dolly because she was going to be away, but turns out I'm the guest. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an emergency contingency thing. Yeah, but you're always welcome here as a guest. You know that, right? Anytime.
Yeah, you're such a bright light. I love all the little thumbnails you put on your channel. Everyone's always laughing and smiling. It just brings me joy to just look at the thumbnails.
Well, I was just telling, we were having a great chat, Dolly and Preston and I, just before we went on. I was telling Preston that he's, during COVID, I was watching a mainstream sort of YouTube channel of these young kids that were traveling around the world and making these videos, and they had millions of listeners. And then, you know, a couple of years after COVID, they all started talking about UAPs and UFOs and psychic ability, and they started really turning their content into more sort of woo-woo out there, expansive. And now with Ross Coulthard coming out with the News Nation reports and his weekly shows on, there's just amazing things are happening in the world, guys. And there's a young man called Jess Michaels who has his own show, and he talks to all sorts of people about this topic and all sorts of other consciousness topics. But I subscribe to him on YouTube too, and I was listening to him the other day, and he was saying, oh, you should go and check out Preston Dennett. He talks about all this stuff. And I'm like, there you go, Preston. You're getting out there in the younger community. Yeah, it's just really expansive what's happening in this space, right? In this like disclosure space.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. I was recently quoted by a Navy admiral.
Wow.
Tim Godelet or Godet or something. His last name is impossible for me to pronounce, but got a bunch of people telling me, some Navy guy quoted you about your USO book. Like, whoa. So that was pretty cool. It's nice to hear that people are finally, paying attention to this subject. It's been marginalized for a long time.
I have been watching you for years and years, and every week, once or twice a week, or at least once a week, you would get on and, talk about some stuff from your books, which you're still doing. And and you weren't getting a lot of traction. You would just turn up. You were committed every week. And then in the last couple of years, it's just gone. It's just exploded, hasn't it, Dolly? And Dolly came out of the UFO closet. I was also telling them that on my show, ATP Media, yesterday I had a mentalist, an Aussie guy, a mentalist on, and he shared his story for the first time of seeing a UFO when he was 6, actually. And you know what he said? He said that he could hear it. He said that he could hear a metallic sort of sound. And I said to him, and I might be wrong, and I'll ask you guys will know better than me, that if you can hear the engine, it's probably a back-engineered vehicle, because most people who report seeing UFOs say they're completely silent. What do you say about that?
There's 2 ways you can hear a UFO. If you're psychic, you can hear electromagnetic energy coming at you. Okay, it's a talent that psychic people all share, because you're picking up the vibration from it psychically and physically at the same time, and it turns into a signal or a sound in your brain band. And when they're on they come down on batteries. They don't come down in full charge from their nuclear part. They come down on batteries because they burn us up. Okay, and have you ever heard a transformer when it's going crazy?
Yep.
The background noise to that level of energy is a kind of sound and a frequency that is undeniably UFO for real. And if so, a lot of people are psychic and they don't realize it, and they're hearing it and they know it's coming. And it feels like it's in the back of your head or down your neck. Okay, they feel it as a thrumming, constant signal to them. And dogs hear it as well. Dogs are very psychic. Their hearing is phenomenal, so they pick up that level of frequency as well. And you can hear it. So
they can be perfectly silent, but I think if you listen real close, you probably will hear a very low thrum. Some people describe it as a swarm of bees, some like a musical refrigerator.
Yeah, it's not high frequency, it's very low frequency. So it's electromagnetic sound, and it's in the lower bands. So some people have acute hearing too. I mean, elephants hear ET coming for miles. They hear them. and because
Wow.
they pick that all up and it vibrates up against the ground. When a craft is approaching ground, the ground is now vibrating from them using the ley lines. Okay,
Yeah.
they're now connected to them. Okay, and an elephant can pick it up, and they got it. And I've actually seen this happen. They will run one down if it's coming and it's going in the wrong direction. They will follow it. It's amazing. A lot of animals will do that.
Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Larry. You guys are amazing. Yeah, they'll play music for people too. I've got a few cases of that where people are like, "Where's that? Is that music?"
Yeah.
And they can be very loud if they want to show off.
Yep.
Wow. Because I have to say, I've seen many sightings, but I've never seen them up close. They've always been way up in the sky, and they've flashed at me, and they've done all sorts of things at me, and they've communicated telepathically. But he was saying that both his sightings, once when he was 6 and one like in 2021, more recently, were pretty close, like a couple of tall trees up, like quite close. Yeah. And the second one was completely silent. And he said the second one was a boomerang shape, like a boomerang.
Yep.
So is that back engineered, or is that
no, boomerang shaped? Yeah. At certain angles he looks like a rectangle, but he's actually a boomerang, and he has hooks on the ends of his boomerangs. They're openings in the fuselage that allow them to drop drones and stuff. He's a drone dropper, and he's huge. He's over 178 feet in diameter. He's huge. And he is boomerang shaped. He also there's a certain angle that you can look at him and he looks Egyptian, like their headdresses that goes like that and then up like that and then down. That's another angle you can look at him and you go, look at that.
Yeah, the Betty and Barney Hill drawing is, I think, pretty accurate.
Yeah.
That was a boomerang, was it? Shape?
Yes.
It's funny because it is, like Dolly says, a matter of perspective. People say, it was cigar shaped. I don't know. But they come. I found that there's 3 or 4 or 5 major shapes for UFOs. Right. It's certainly saucer shaped.
Yeah.
Manta rays, sort of V-shaped, but egg-shaped, spherical, and cigar.
Yeah,
they
cigar.
Can appear in
any shape that they do not have, and there's reasons for that, is triangle. Every triangle you see is back engineered.
Is it?
Yes. Yeah, I would be terrified of it. And they have ones that are rectangular shaped, but they're flat on top and bottom. They have a small compartment on the bottom. Sometimes if they turn a certain way, you can see the dip under them. Those are scary ones. I wouldn't even want to see one in real life. I've seen one. It flew right over my head. Okay. And it was like, oh no, look at that. Yeah, but all the triangles are definitely ours. All of them.
So Karen, for people who don't know about you, just can you give a bit of background? This might be some people's first time seeing you.
Yes.
Oh, a bit of background. Oh, I'm old now. I'm older than you guys. Oh, maybe Dolly might be a year or so older than me. But we're about the same age.
Sliding towards 60. I'm pretty old.
I'm already in the 60s. You're not 60 yet, are you?
We're the same age, aren't we? I'm going to tell the truth. I'm 66 going on 67.
Oh, no, I'm a couple of years younger than you. But yeah, so I guess that, I was just one of those kids that's asked a million questions, hit the ground running. What the hell am I doing here? Came into a very unspiritual family in that they didn't think about anything consciousness or spiritual, or even religious. They were completely secular, all about, looking good and making money, and just what most people think about.
Your family?
Yeah.
I chose them. But, I had someone talking on the show the other day about the hybrid program, and I asked my guides, my mob, I very irreverently call them the mob, because when I was young, when I asked them who they were, I just saw this sea of like people with no identity, and it sort of looked like a mob of people, like a large crowd, I suppose. Mob is a very Aussie word. I think in the States, mob means like when you talk about the mob, you talk about criminals or something. You talk about the mob, but the Indigenous people, the First Nation Australians, call their family the mob. They use the word the mob a lot. So they didn't give me singular identity. They just showed me this sea of people, and then they explained it to me later that they're a stream of consciousness, that they're beyond identity, but they've been many forms. When I was asking for a form and an identity, and they laughed at me and they said, God, we've been so many forms and identities, we've been so many. Pick one and we'll show up as one. But they've been ET consciousness and human consciousness and ascended master consciousness and angelic consciousness. It's basically you can tap into the unified field. What do they call it in the law of one? the memory complex, they called it, when she was channeling the
It's
woman that
actually
was
just source. It's all source.
source. Yeah, God. People have called it God, but
Yeah.
she was talking to a being that called himself Ra, and he said he was the social memory complex of Venus that had like the social memory complex, like the memories of everyone that had ever lived on Venus. Think about it. Every human being that's ever lived on Earth, all their thoughts and all their experiences, and just this infinite information, this unified field of information that you can just tap into if you want to. You can tap into whatever information.
The Greeks call it all mind.
All mind, yeah.
Well, my question, Karen, was, you're the only real psychic spiritual one in your family. So it's like,
you know what? Yeah, this is what I was alluding to. So when you look at my mother's family, she came from an English background. She had these short, dumpy-looking parents. They were gorgeous, but they were pretty fruggly looking. All of the children were pretty tall, actually. So when I studied genetics, when I was I studied anatomy and physiology and as a naturopath in my 20s, the genetic programming says that when you have a dominant gene like tallness or brown eyes, it will always display, the dominant gene will always display if it's with a recessive gene. But if you have two recessive genes, so shortness, blue eyes are recessive genes, and two short people come together, it's impossible for them to have tall children, right? Because they're holding the recessive gene. So if they do have tall children, or two blue-eyed people have brown-eyed children, then there has been some DNA tweaking going on. There's been some interference going on. There's been some hybridization going on. So this happened with my mother's family. These two short parents had these taller children. All of them were tall, 4 of them. I think my grandmother had 6 pregnancies and 4 children. She had 2 deaths, I think 1 cot death and 1 baby died. And mum looks like she doesn't belong to the family. Like she's had her DNA tweaked. Like she just didn't look like she belonged to the family. She carried some of their features, obviously, but she looked completely different to the rest of the family. So I asked my mob about it, and they said, in order for you to do what you're doing with your psychic abilities, which is something as a soul that you set up before you came here, we needed to tweak your lineage, your DNA lineage. So mum had the ability to advance her psychic abilities if she chose to focus in that way, but she didn't. She didn't choose to focus there, but she carried that DNA and she passed it on to myself and my brothers. And my brothers don't choose to go there either. We have free will, but it was so interesting to me how we set this up before we come into the earth experience. Often when people talk about spirituality, they say, you die and then you go back to spirit and you think about what you're going to do and you come back in and you reincarnate and you die. And it's like they think about it like a linear process, that we're making decisions about who we want to be. Exactly, Dolly. No, who we want to be in our next life when we've lived a life. But what my mob have shown me is that when we choose to incarnate into the earth experience, we do so through all time and space simultaneously. So we make a decision, I'm going to be human. and then you say, what part of the earth experience? I'm sure you want to be here. What part of the earth experience do you want to experience? Oh, I want to run with the dinosaurs and hang out with the Egyptians and be in Atlantis or Lemuria. And you make these decisions, like your soul inserts itself through all time and space simultaneously. So all of us being here for the shift right now, and we're expanding our experiences and expanding our psychic perception and connecting with galactic consciousness and spiritual consciousness, dead people and spirit guides and all that sort of thing. We've set that up before we came. We're carrying bodies that is allowing us to do that. And so we've set that up through our lineage. And so, a lot of us are a part of this hybrid program. Well, actually, all of us are a part of the hybrid program because humanity at large has been evolved.
Yeah, exactly.
But some more than others in order to be a part of this expansion in human consciousness. And it's fascinating to think about it. It's not like I came in, with this. It's much a bigger decision. Like, mum was involved and her parents were involved and their parents were involved. And it's a much bigger story than just this one life. Right. Dolly? You get this. I mean, both of you get this, but
every we have many reasons for being here, not the least of which is that we're supposed to be gaining knowledge, wisdom, and experience here. Okay. And while we're doing all of that, then we're also experiencing what we are to one another and how we should be involved in each other's lives and how we should be using our abilities and cooperating with one another and ascending together. Okay. Those are the two biggies. And then the third one is all this other stuff that we learn along the way that's shot at us just to see how we're going to respond to it. Okay. And life has, in the third dimension, life has a way of, surprise, how are you going to deal with this? And so that's the third element of our existence. And yes, it is determined before you get here. Your DNA is specific to you, and it is ready for you when you get here, and it's done. You're here for a reason. Yep.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be that way. Otherwise, life would be meaningless.
Right. And
It
that's
really doesn't make any sense. I started researching the subject of life after death because I was a skeptic. It kind of occurred to me, I'm like, well, life would be meaningless if everyone who ever lived was wiped off out of existence. I mean, that just doesn't, it didn't make sense.
It never occurs. No, we all know each other, and we've all been back and forth with one another. I mean, we have a huge pool of consciousness that we're all part of, and we know each other all the way across the expanse of every angle of it there is. And so when you come here, you're going to run into people you go, I like this person. I don't know why, but I do. That's because you know them, and you're supposed to be up with them now. You're walking into them for a reason. And I wish we would all look at it that way. We're all meeting friends, not foes. We're
Absolutely.
all meeting chances of experiencing something great together. Okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that, there's an element on this world that kind of discourages. Well, it doesn't. It absolutely discourages that, and it's very, very aggravating to think about. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I had Jacqueline Smith on the show the other day, week before last. Oh, I don't know time. You know who
Jacqueline Smith is?
Jacqueline Smith is? Pardon?
The actor Jacqueline Smith, Charlie's Angel.
No. She's she talks about the hybrid program. She's an ET here on Earth. She's got her DNA, spliced. Do you not know Jacqueline? You not had her on the show? She's lovely. She's an ET here on Earth. But so she's in America, and I'm having Judy Carroll on the show. Do you know who Judy Carroll is? So
I think so.
Yeah.
She's an Australian, and they recognized each other as sisters when they're in their galactic form, like their grey form. They're family, but they're here on Earth in their human form, doing the work that they're here to do to create awareness and closure. But they're on other sides of the world. One in America, but they're like sisters. Yeah, they recognize themselves as sisters. I don't know if they've ever physically met, because I know Judy's done a lot of traveling.
Wow.
She's in Queensland, but she's coming on the show next week. But it was so lovely to hear that they had recognized themselves as sisters, and when they're in their, I think, grey form, tall grey form, when they're greys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I recently met somebody who contacted Preston first, and the more I talked to him and get to know him, I realized, oh my God, I know who you are. I've known you for a long time. And he's in Australia. His name is Tony Cadman. And I want to bring him on the show, but I have to let him he had an operation recently, and so he's got to get over that first. And he doesn't know if he's listening tonight. Tony, you're going to come on the show. Just so you know.
To let you know, you're going to come on the show.
Going to happen. And but it's amazing that I run into people like that frequently, I also run into people that I'm related to here that I didn't realize that I was related to. And that blows my mind as well. And it's like it's all interconnected. It's all what's synergy, synchronicity, all of that. It's amazing. And it's like we're just waiting for the phone to click in or dial up that number, and boom, it happens.
Both of you were kind of born with that ability. I had to work hard to kind of get towards that.
Well, I've got to say, you and Dolly have much more expanded psychic abilities than I've got. I can't wait to do what you can do, to have awareness. The thing is that I know I'm doing it, and all of us are doing it. Like, all of us are out of body at night. All of us, every person on the planet. Somebody asked me that in a group the other day. Is there anybody that never leaves their body when they sleep at night? And I'm like, no, that's sleep is designed so that
Why
we can.
would your consciousness stay in you while you're sleeping? It's got places to do and things to see and la la la, and it just travels on.
Possibly stand living on Earth is if you take a break every day.
Yes, you take a break every day. And like ETs, well, depending on their flavor, of course, and their level of consciousness, don't need that break because they're more connected to the, the unified field, the one mind, the infinite source of intelligence, God, or whatever you want to call that, So they're more knowing that they are an extension of source, and they don't need to take that break to remember that they're not their limiting, ideas about themselves. And
I like the Native American term, the spirit which moves through all things.
Nice. Yeah, the spirit.
That's very descriptive. Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, how we're supposed to be. We're supposed to remember our past lives and recognize people that we had previous incarnations with. And we do.
Yeah.
I think people automatically, even if you're not psychic, you recognize it. And people, when they walk into a haunted house, they get chills. They're like, ooh, it's spooky in here. That's because there's a ghost looking at you.
Yeah, absolutely. But, like Preston, you've honed your abilities. And Dolly, you said that they were pretty much on tap, right? You just had them on tap. But your DNA, like with your family, Preston, you've got family that are doing it and that are not doing it. Like the thing that fascinated me about you and your story is you're consciously aware of your out-of-body experiences, and you're talking to your family who are still incarnated, but they're in their astral form, and you're asking them if they remember when they wake up in the morning, and they just don't have that memory, which is pretty much 99% of the population, right? We're all doing it and we don't have the memory. So you said that you had to work at having that memory and awareness. But
he
Dolly,
had a mother who came after him after she passed. She was not going to let it go. She knew he was capable, and she showed up right away and did not stop contacting him until he woke up for it, And his first forays into that were to learn how to do it and then find her again. And he did on the other side. He found her, and it's just gone from there. And I think that was meant to happen that way. Honestly, I really, truly do.
Do you think it's possible for all of us to regain that sort of level of awareness? Or
yes,
do you
absolutely. Absolutely. It's only a matter of time. Literally only a matter of time. The three things that I ask people to think about is you have to focus. In other words, you have to exclude all other thoughts or things coming at you. You have to go into that singular space where you exist with nothing bothering you, okay? And then you have to stop your physical mind from talking to you, okay? Because it's very chatty and it will go on all day long if you let it. You have to shut it up. And that's when you hear, okay? And that's when, boom, that's the same connection that happens when you're with ET on board. People say, well, they gave me something. No, they didn't. They opened a channel to you, and your consciousness went, oh yeah, we got link, and it's operating now. Okay, the flow happened. And what you have to do is allow that flow to happen again on your own without their aid. Okay, because they aided you in channeling it in. Now you got to do it for yourself. And that means let everything go. Buddha tried to teach that. He'd say, put it in the palm of your hand, whatever it is. A fist, drop it. Bye. See ya. And that means turn off the TV, turn off the radio, turn off any external things. Find a safe place for yourself to go, shut it all out. And then the second thing you have to do is relax your entire body. You have to get into the position where your body is going to let go of all stimulation as well. It's almost a type of sleep. You put your body to sleep, not your mind. Okay? You let it go. And then what happens is you start to feel the vibration of your consciousness escaping it. It's almost electrical when you first start doing it. Okay. And then you realize, and there are steps. Like Preston has a thing that if you email him, he'll email you back with the steps that you have to take to get to that point. Okay. It's very involved. I mean, there's a lot of steps, but first things, calm your body, calm your mind, shut up and listen. And it'll happen for you every time. And the more you do it, the more you exercise that muscle in your head, you wake up every day. You're more and more and more and more awake. And then you have to like experience like you do, and you're more psychic than you realize. Your posse, your
my posse. Yeah.
you're hearing all mine talking to you. That's
all the time.
And if you have a question, direct it, and you'll get the answer. And then what you do is verify it. When we walk, we can verify that we can walk, right? When we're learning how to do stuff. When you ride a bike, you learn that you can verify a bike because you're up on it and working it. Verifying information coming at you needs to be work on your part also. Verify the veracity or the truth of it, okay? And the more you do that, the more confident you are in your abilities, okay? the more confident. I'm asking you a question, a direct question right now, and this might not seem relevant, but it is. In one of your sightings, did you ever see a blue flare with a red tail behind it take off?
No, I've
Okay.
never seen a red flare kick off. And no, I see
It's
blue.
not a red flare. It's a blue craft like flare out, a blue flare, and it take off, and it left a red trail behind it, a short red trail, not a long one.
No, the sightings that I've had mostly, except for once I asked them to. I was walking at the beach with my next door neighbor, and she was very skeptical, so I asked them to appear, and you couldn't actually see anything, but you could see two lights. And in my third eye, I could see it as a cigar-shaped craft, which was quite low. And you could see a light on one side and a light. And so the lights were moving across the sky like this, and it was reasonably low. It was the lowest one I've ever seen. And she said, "Oh, no, that's just a plane. They're just both planes." And I said, "Look at it. Planes don't move like that." I think I've shared this story with you before. Yeah. But I didn't see it with my physical eyes. I saw it with my inner eye. But mostly I see them really high up, and they usually appear as, I have seen blue, but I haven't seen the red tail. Why? There's a reason that you're asking me that.
I can see it in your mind's eye. You were a child when you saw it, and for some reason you need to think about that. Like, to let it come back, because that happened to you. You saw one as a child.
Yeah.
Well, I like what you said, Dolly. Relaxation is the key to so many things. But as important as paying attention to the outside world and what's happening around you, which is super important, equally important is paying attention to your inner world, all the thoughts that you have that are going on. Because the more you do that, that's when you start developing psychic ability.
Right.
It's also paying attention, remembering. If you can remember what goes on at night, you're there. Try to remember. Go to bed and say, "Tonight I will remember everything that happened to me." And start remembering.
You cannot multitask when you do this. People in the world have been taught to multitask for some reason. They think it's a good thing. It is not. If you can get a singularity going on in your head where you're that focused and you're open to whatever's coming at you.
Mantras works.
Yes.
It allows you to focus.
Yep.
I had a client the other day, he's a friend actually, and he said he's been meditating for ages, and he doesn't get any messages from his guides, and he knows they're there. And then recently he started to get some phenomena, some physical chills, and he felt like there was a drop of water on his face when he was asleep at night. And so I tried to put him in hypnosis, and that mind of his, that strong mind, I couldn't do it. He said, "Has it never not worked?" And I said, "It's never not worked. I've never had a client where it's not worked right." It did not work with him. And I could hear his mind, and I kept telling him, "Tell me what you're thinking." But what he was doing, and this is the mistake we're making, like it's both what you both said, was he was thinking a million thoughts, and he was dismissing the thoughts as wrong instead of being aware of the thoughts and speaking the thoughts, right? He was just trying to stop the thought. He was trying to stop the thoughts. And I'm saying, "Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me." And he wouldn't tell me. And I could hear him thinking. I couldn't hear what he was thinking of, but I could hear, and I kept saying, "Tell me." And he kept editing himself. He kept editing and saying, "I'm not getting anything." I said, "You're thinking a million things. What are you thinking?" "No, I'm not getting anything." So he's editing the thoughts, saying they're the wrong thoughts, instead of being aware that you're thinking. It's the first rule in meditation. It's not to dismiss your thoughts. Yeah. To be aware of your thoughts and not dismiss them, not resist them. Yeah, it's such a great point.
That he's listening to his physical mind, not his consciousness, because it's the connection is there. He's just not allowing it in. He's too busy chatting to himself. A lot of people do that because they are control freaks. They've had a lifetime of having to be in control and having to notice everything and pick everything apart, and so that that's the habit that they've become, and letting go of that habit is really important. You just have to be nothing,
and that's where we had to go with the session. He thought it was going to be one thing, but the session turned into something else. We're looking at those controlling belief systems and why he felt like the safety of control, and then we had to go back to trauma, and it turned into a different session, but we had to address that before he could allow himself to open, like addressing those belief systems that you're carrying. Like we come up with so many reasons that we react and respond the way we do because we're holding these programmed belief systems that we think is going to keep us safe. Like we think this will keep me safe. If I can control things, if I can, make it do it this way, I'll feel safe and I'll feel empowered. And in truth, we just have to let go, right? Let go and let God, they've said in the Bible.
Yeah, belief systems can be a trap.
Right.
We perceive the entire universe through our belief system. Really, it's kind of like having blinders on a little bit.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's why the work you do, I think, is so important, because that's pretty much what you largely focus on, right? Is helping people navigate through and towards a higher consciousness.
Well, it's interesting that we, as disclosure rolls out, and as I said, I've said this on your show before and on many other shows, disclosure is just not about, we're not alone in the universe. Disclosure is the disclosure of who we are as infinite intelligence incarnated into human form and what's possible for us, our psychic abilities expanding. And so disclosure is happening on many levels, but as it rolls out and we start to see who we are as a multidimensional beings, we start to realize the thought forms that we've held as truth that we've never even thought to question. So one of those thought forms is that you have to be gifted or woo-woo to be psychic. And yet every being on the planet is psychic because it is the first and only sense we have when we're born into this physical experience.
Exactly.
We can't smell, we can't taste, we can't see, we can't hear, but we're completely connected to our mothers through a psychic ability and telepathically. And then all the physical, senses come online and we start to focus there. And so we start to neglect our psychic ability. Another thought form is this whole, aliens are woo-woo, or you have to be crazy if you believe in aliens. Like that is a conscious belief that was put out into the matrix everyone sort of bought into, and still they buy into it. Like you see people like Ross Coulthard, who's on News Nation, talking about this stuff, and he's still bumping up against this, you've got to be crazy, you've got to be crazy, you've got to be crazy. But that's a thought form that people don't even think maybe that was implanted in our mind that,
or they're demonic,
or a demonic. A religion has a lot to answer for putting out ideas and thought forms and beliefs that we just think of. Like this, I was talking at a conference yesterday, the extraterrestrial diplomatic contact, these people, they're building an embassy. Anyway, they had a conference yesterday.
Oh, I know who that is.
You know who they are, right? The ADECD. Anyway, and I've got to get the initials right. So I was talking about the guides were telling me, the Galactic mob was telling me about their idea of, God. Like we've wrapped God in divinity and holy and made it so outside of our normal experience. In order to talk to God, you have to be holy or it's divine. And they said, we don't think about like we don't think about God like that. God is just a part of who we are. It's just like we don't make it holy or divine. And yet we've never even like bumped up against those thoughts and challenged them. Like, can you sit in your ripped tracksuit pants on your couch and talk to God? Or do you have to dress up and go to church? You know what I mean? It's like, it's just a part of who we are. You don't need to make it special or holy. It's just you. It's who you are.
People are selling themselves way short because we have such amazing abilities. I mean, there's almost nothing we can't do in terms of psychic ability. It's clairvoyance and telepathy and telekinesis and levitation and healing and mediumship and all this stuff. Have you seen ghosts, KAren?
Have I seen ghosts?
It's a TV show.
Yes, but I have to say, when you say see, I see a lot in my third eye. Like I have this really expanded third eye, but I don't see a lot with my physical eye. So when you say see, I haven't seen a ghost with my physical eye standing in front of me. I see orbs and dead people all around me all the time, but they appear to me as lights, like either a flashing light or an orb that will float. Big, small, like that's what I see through my eyes, my outside eyes. But in my third eye, I've seen ghosts. I've seen like
because sometimes you give sort of a mediumship vibe to me, like you have got mediumship abilities.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely. It's not my strongest point. Like I work with, I'm also involved in putting on another big event next year called the Afterlife Convention, Awaken, the Rise in Consciousness. So it'll be the biggest consciousness event of its kind that Australia's ever seen, or Sydney anyway. And it's talking more on that mediumship, afterlife, consciousness level. We're not really introducing the UFO phenomena at this stage because we're talking to a bigger audience. And so there are mediums out there that have that specific, gift of talking to dead people. I'm not one of them, and yet I can talk to dead people if I like, but it's not my specialty. But yeah, I do have that medium ability. Like I was talking to a guy at a big spiritual festival here who's one of our speakers, and he was talking about his guru. He belongs to a Japanese religion organization, and this guy that was his Japanese guru, he wrote, you think you've written a lot of books, Preston? He wrote 3,000 books while he was alive, and he died at 66. Wow. He wrote 3,000 books. Anyway, but I tuned in to the energy of the religion or the group, and it very much had that sort of cult-like religious energy where they were bowing down to the guru, and he was the one and only word, and they wanted him to come back from the dead and reincarnate back, and it wasn't very enlightened. But I'm not to say that what he brought through in those 3,000 books isn't fascinating, and a lot of it was about extraterrestrial life. But I was chatting to him just standing in this busy hall, like loud as anything, full of all these people talking, and I was chatting to him in spirit. He was just there chatting away, dead person, but he was quite an enlightened being. He was a very enlightened being, actually, and so that was interesting. So it's possible to do that, but I wouldn't
say is your specialty if it's not mediumship. What do you think is your greatest, or what do you enjoy or focus on in terms of all of this consciousness stuff and abilities? Am I putting you on the spot? You can.
Yeah, what a question.
You can pivot if you want and answer.
I think that what I'm focused on, when I say my soul, is the normalizing exactly what we're talking about, the expansion of consciousness, normalizing all this idea that mediumship and psychic ability is not woo-woo or special or gifted, that we all have this as an innate ability, and making it normal. And I talk to so many groups that are all a part, and they all have their specific intentions or roles in evolving the human experience. And the Arcturians talk to me about mind, the focus of our minds, and it's just the conversation that we're having now, and that humans are so sloppy the way they think, and they're so disempowered, believing their stressful thoughts. And so when I talk about being a teacher of deliberate creation, what we're deliberately creating is not the stuff around us.
No.
We can do that, but we're deliberately creating what we're thinking and the vibration connected to it. And that's really where I like to go in everything I talk about, because we look at something and we judge it. Oh, I hate that. Oh, I love that. Oh, she's terrible. Oh, that. And we just let life beat us up with our judgments instead of being...
I would call you a guide.
Guide. Yeah, right. That's it. Yeah, guide. Teacher.
Yeah.
When I was 12, I was living with my dad. He was married to his second wife, and my brother from another mother. He was a baby at the time, and they had this little English girl living with us, and she was kind of like the nanny or the housekeeper or whatever. And she said to me in the kitchen one night, "Come on, Karen, I want to read your palm." And when I was about 12, I didn't really understand what she wanted to do. And I said, yeah, okay, I was up for it. And she told me 3 things that had me run to my bedroom in absolute tears, because I thought they were the worst things that she could ever say to the 12-year-old me. She said I wouldn't get married and have a baby until I was like 28, and that I would be a teacher when I grew up. And so to the dyslexic child that hated school, the only idea of teacher was a school teacher, right? Like that was the worst news you could tell me. And then to be 28 when I got married was like, God, you're one foot's in the grave to the 12-year-old. So, but damn it, she was right. She was absolutely right. But
Wow.
to the 12-year-old, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that. So psychic ability, there are psychics that get these messages that are right, but they don't, they need to be, you need to be able to explain it to a mind that doesn't understand where you're coming from. So I think that with me and many other people, being curious, it's like when I teach my students about psychic ability and they say, I don't know. And I said, you're tapped into infinite intelligence. If you don't know, just ask. Like, can you explain this to me so that my human mind can understand? Can you show me in a way that I can understand? Like, you just keep asking to be shown so that you do understand, so that the messages that come through can be digested by our human perspective. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What's the tribe doing?
Understanding anything. We're capable of asking questions, and we're capable of cognitively figuring it out for ourselves. And the rule of thumb here is don't give up until you got it, and you might not get it right the first time. It might take you a couple of tries, or maybe way more than that. It might take a couple of years even before you finally go, oop, light bulb moment. Okay, I got it. This is your consciousness finally getting through to you and hearing what's really actually being told to you. And it's important that we just shut up and listen for it. It'll happen. You'll get it. And you'll know. This is better than belief. Knowing is you got it. You know it. You own it at that point. And then you take that knowledge and you go operate it. You work it. You employ what you've learned. Yep.
Yeah.
Ask. Yeah.
Ask. That's the best advice. Yeah, it is. I love it when you have those aha moments that you can read something and then you experience it and you go, oh, that's what they were talking about, because now I'm experiencing it. I really get it viscerally. And then something else will happen, usually trauma in the human experience, and you'll get that lesson even more, and you'll get an even bigger aha moment. You go, now I really get it. I thought I got it before, but now I really get it. It's ever expanding aha and experience. But Esther Hicks from the Teachings of Abraham says very wisely that information doesn't teach. Information just gives you an ability to ask for that. So you might listen to people on your show or my show, and you hear their experiences and you say, I want to experience that, right? And then we can tell you how to experience it. But until you've experienced it, you don't actually know. Right. And then once you've experienced it, now you know. Yeah. So I like to, like with your show, I like to experience, I like to talk to people who've had experiences rather than people that just research. I mean, obviously Preston's a researcher, known for being a researcher, but when I put Preston on my show years ago, he blew me away with his own personal experiences. Like, I don't think I'd had anyone on the show that had had such incredible experiences as Preston. And I'm like, you can't call yourself researcher. You can't call yourself experiencer, because not just UFO experiences and ET experiences, but psychic experiences and out-of-body experiences. And
you want to hear
what you said? There's a difference between belief and knowledge. You can believe anything you want, but until you actually experience it, that's knowledge.
You want to hear a funny story?
Yeah.
There's an old saying that all psychiatrists or therapists all have emotional problems, and that's why they went in to do. They were laying a foundation that they could build an understanding so that they could learn for themselves how to deal with themselves as well. And it's the same thing with experiencers and researchers. I'll bet money that 99% of researchers are experiencers, quote unquote, and have delved into that for that very exact reason. We're all searching. We're all looking for an explanation for everything. And whatever your interest is where you're going to go. That's all it is, literally. I mean, we all need to remember that, Yeah. And then here's the point. Whatever you teach yourself, whatever you learn foundationally, opens you up for more and more and more experiences and understanding and knowledge and knowing. That's the important thing. And this is why the dumbing down of the people on this planet has been so hypercritical for those who want to rule us, okay? Because we now need to seriously talk to each other about the fact that go get a book on electricity, go get a book on biology, go get a book on the human anatomy, go get a book on this, and start laying a foundation in your mind to give you that knowledge that you need, that base knowledge, so that what you're asking gets answered in a way that you do understand. That's important. because sometimes it'll take years for you to get an answer because you don't have that foundation. And one of the ways you can build to that is to educate yourself, to seek knowledge on your own instead of playing games, or listening to music all the time, or getting worried about what political thing is going on somewhere, or who's fighting who, or who's angry with who. Yeah, you just leave it alone. Just go for it for yourselves. Teach yourself.
Yeah, Michelle from what's the name of her show? Preston, Dolly.
The Outer Realms. Yes.
The Outer Realms was emailing me, and she was giving me the amount of people that were tuning in. Does she email you each week with your numbers as well? Did she do that for everybody? God, she must be busy. Anyway, and she was saying, the numbers are down a bit this week because of your US elections. And I'm thinking it's the day before you're officially supposed to vote, the numbers would be down. But on your show, I think you've got more people listening tonight.
We have a lovely, lovely, lovely base group in here. They're heck, they're smart as heck. They ask really good questions in here. I mean, it's amazing. And we get to talk back and forth with them outside of the show. We have actual.
It's all about interacting.
Exactly.
Yeah, community group.
By the way, I am putting stars next to some of the questions you guys are asking. Keep them coming. There's a couple of good ones.
Okay. So how does chi work? Well, that's a good question. I want to say to you, you said that I have a growing YouTube channel. It's so funny because with YouTube, I have been on YouTube for over 15 years. It's pretty much since it started. And my channel has not grown at all in the last decade. That's because I turned off all the ads, right? And so YouTube doesn't show my shows. And, at the end of last year, I was fed up. And I thought, I went on a slew of other video platforms. I was getting good traction on the audio, on the platforms, but not on the video platforms. I was about to just throw in the towel and give up the ghost. Mm-hmm. And then Dolly says, come on this network, come on the UFO Paranormal Radio Network and the United Public Radio Network. There we go. I've put in the calls. 107.7 and 105.3 FM syndicated radio. You'll get some great listenership. And so that's exactly what I did this year. And I've got some my YouTube channel has not grown at all this year. Not at all. Even I reached out to my thousands. Subscribe. I reached out to my thousands of email subscribers and said, can you subscribe to the channel? And I think it went up 20 people. But being on this platform, being on this radio network, I'm not worried about it anymore. It's really interesting how these conglomerates can really try and control what you want to put out there, right? You're having that experience now.
Preston and I have been on for a year and a half now?
Yep.
Yeah, you got double the amount of subscribers.
It started out slow. I mean, we were like, okay, we're just going to keep going. And we didn't even think about it. And then one day, not too recently, it just went poof. So, yeah, it'll happen. It'll happen.
All right. I got to take a quick station ID break, guys.
Yep.
We are just past the top of the hour. Thank you all for joining us on episode 80 of The Light Gate. I'm your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Safran. And our guest today is KAren Swain. We're talking about all kinds of things. We are streaming on multiple platforms, including the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM and 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We're on Rumble. We're on Roku. We're on Facebook. We are on YouTube. Big, huge shout out to our wonderful sponsor, Carnation. We love you so much. We use your product all the time.
Making ice cream tomorrow.
So thank you so much for supporting us. And thank you all the guys in chat. We will get to your questions shortly, but we're just having so much fun with you, KAren. You're always such a breath of fresh air. We've had a few kind of, just dry guests, I guess I would put it.
Really?
I'm an emotional guy. I love emotions. And you're just...
Oh, yeah. That's what it's all about. That's what I think, emotions, we are emotional beings. We're even emotional. Our consciousness is emotional. And when it comes through in us, you can see the truth come out with it, It's easier to tell if somebody's telling you the truth or not just by how they're emotionally acting toward you. And those are big hints to people that if you hear the emotion in your mind, think about this, what they're saying, things like that. There's all kinds of frequency thought out there. You know, we all have a different frequency, and when you lie, you change your own frequency. It lowers slightly, and people hear that, they know. When you're telling the truth, your frequency strengthens, it gets stronger, it gets louder, and it's very emotional when it's happening.
Did you pop that question up, Karen?
I reckon Dolly can answer that. We all do have an energy signature. Every single one of us have an energy signature. Something I realized when I had an experience with my dead mother. But I also want to answer, how does chi work? Because I think that's a great question too. So she'd been dead for about, 15 years or so. I was a young mother, and she was already incarnated as my niece. And she was probably about 5 or 6, that little girl. But in the shower one night, it had happened when my best friend at the time committed suicide. I was sitting in the bottom of the shower. I was a busy single mom, getting, dinner ready and the school play. And I just thought, I'm just going to take 5 minutes out, just sit on the shower and let the hot water run over me and just take a break for 5 minutes. And in that time, she appeared to me, her face, a floating head appeared to me in my third eye in profile, right? I saw the profile, and she turned and she looked at me. I talk about ghosts. She turned and she looked at me, and I went, I don't have time for this. I don't have time. I'm busy. I don't have time to talk to dead mother. And I opened my eyes trying to get rid of the experience. And I had this overwhelming sensation of her with me. And I don't know how to explain it. It was like I smelt her. I felt her. I could breathe her. And I just went, oh my God, I remember.
You know that you're physically programmed for that. Did you know that? In your heart, your actual heart muscle is a node with your mother's DNA in it.
Right.
And even though she's separated from you, that DNA is still circulating you. And that is a direct line to her frequency, to her consciousness.
Yeah.
And she wants to make contact with you. All she has to do is come to your heart and go there. And that's why you saw her face. That's why you felt her, you smelt her. All my relatives that I'm related to female in my family line, because you carry every single one of those DNA through your mother in you. We have the mother in their DNA in our chest. Okay. And not the father, it's the mother. Okay.
Yeah.
And my great grandmother visits me through my mother and me and my mother's mother and all of that. And I always see them. I smell them. I feel them. It's amazing. And I just sort of revel in it because I know who's around me,
And that goes back to infinity. If you think about it.
All the way back.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting because, again, as humans, we have this linear thinking. It's like you live one life and you die and you come back. And while you're incarnated in the body, you can't talk to the spirit of the person you were before. Well, I was experiencing the direct opposite of that because, as I said, she was already incarnated as my niece. And now I'm talking to her ghost, if you like, or her essence or her. But what I was alluding to was that energy signature. Like there was a signature that I recognized. Right. Again, it was the energy signature of her persona as the entity that I called mother.
Your physical mind has alpha, beta, theta, gamma, delta. Okay, and you think in those brainwaves, and it has an actual signature to it. Your consciousness is that signature as well. When you're coming together to bind with DNA, when you conceived, your consciousness programs the physical DNA to go to that frequency. So this is your frequency. It's eternal. This never changes. You are who you are. This is how he finds you because they identified you by your frequency.
Exactly.
And they can find you
it's not the implant.
No, it's not the implant. They can actually pull your frequency.
The energy signature. Yeah. And I was talking about this. You had Stephen Simon on your show. You know, the first time I had him on my show, I revisited the first show I had him on because I reached out to him when he was still quite raw. His wife had been dead for about 3 years at the time. I think it's been about 5.5, 6 years now. And he was still in a lot of grief, even though he was talking to her spirit, and they had written a book together, her as the dead, wife and him as the physical, and they'd written a book together. But I said to him, it's that energy, because he was saying, I can't tell you how I recognize her, and it's not just my imagination. And I said, you recognize her energy signature, and he loved that. He said, oh, I'm going to use that energy signature. Yeah, but there's an energetic stamp that you recognize outside of sight and smell and all those physical that you recognize as that identity, whether it's the physical identity or the soul identity, but there is that energetic signature
Right.
And we recognize each other as souls through that signature, through that energetic
When we
signature.
remote view people, that we're actually going to that. In other words, you think of that person and their signature will come to you psychically, and you follow that frequency till you get to it.
That's how I do OBEs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just focus on the person.
Yeah. We also do it planetary wise. Everything on this planet has a different frequency or signature, and the Earth itself is a conglomeration of many, and it creates a new signature for itself. ET can find a planet by the planetary signature of that planet. It's broadcasting itself that way. Even stars, quasars, novas, black holes, all of it, everything has its own identity. Okay. It amazes the heck out of me that people haven't figured that out. When you want to remote a place, you think about Paris, I'm going to remote the Eiffel Tower. Well, the Eiffel Tower is singing a certain tune because it's physical and it's vibrating, and you go straight to it. And most people who remote view will not see it completely first. It'll be black and white. It'll look like it's drawn. And then it'll start filling in. The closer you get to it with your third eye, your mind, where you're remoting your mind to that object, you start to get a complete picture of it. And then you can pinpoint different things about it and see it right down. One of the things that you can learn to do, this is a really good way to use your ability. Get a notebook. Think of an object or a place that you want to go remote view. Think about what it is. Look at a picture of it. So you start picking up psychically on what that signature is, and then shut it, put it down. Don't look at it anymore. Close your eyes and go remote view to it. And then once you have it, notice what's going on around it. It has to be something that you can verify, either by video or a person that lives there that can go look and tell you if you're correct or not. And you get a picture of what that is, and you look at all the things around it, and then you write it all down, and then you verify. And you learn to get really strong in that ability by your ability to verify what you're seeing. Okay. That's why there are remote viewing groups that actually do that. They have targets and they have answers. And you practice it every day. The more you do that, the more you're going to single out no interference from anything or anyone, because you're remoting your consciousness out of your brain into an area, and it strengthens the connection of your pineal gland.
We're going to do a show on remote viewing in a couple of days.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Karen, I just want to thank you for introducing us to Stephen Simon. That was one of my favorites.
Oh, I know. I know. I'm so grateful for that. He's wonderful.
I invited him to Australia to talk at the Afterlife convention, but he said he's too old to come out that too far now. And if he did come out, we'd have to pay for him to split the trip up over 2 days and put him in business class. And we just didn't have the money to do that. So, but we're going to remote view him. We're going to zoom him in, because I think that, his story, he's made movies all about, psychic ability in the afterlife his whole life. And his story with his wife is just incredible. And he never, ever thought of himself as a person who was psychic. He's proof of what we talk about, that everybody's psychic, right? Until it became essential, right? Because now he wants to contact his dead wife. So it's essential. And then when it's essential, now he's tapping in. And so we don't expand our abilities until we want to rely on them. And when you rely on that ability, it becomes something that you can do easily. Yeah. Yeah. But he's gorgeous. I love Stephen. He's, as I said, when my heart was reaching out, when I had him on the show a few years back, I could feel the grief he was still in, even though he had this open communication with her. He was just so missing the physical form. And you know what I thought? I just thought, he was retired, he's been retired for years. I thought, I'll just get him really busy. And I put him on about 20 other podcast shows. And then momentum grew, and other people put him on shows, and other people put him on shows. And then he was really busy, and he didn't have time to think about his loss.
Sneaky.
Yeah,
so,
sneaky. Right?
I have a question I'd like to get to some of the questions in chat shortly. But what has been your favorite guest or client? What is one that is really kind of wow, I learned a lot, or this one really?
Okay. I can't say I have a favorite like you guys. I'm sure you can't say, but I've had people that have blown my mind, and one I talk about a lot is Garnet Schulhauser. So he was a corporate lawyer, Canadian corporate lawyer, Catholic conservative corporate lawyer. When a homeless man stops him in the street about a decade ago, and asks him, why is he here on earth? And peers into his eyes and starts transmitting all this love. And his human instinct is to like step out of the way and just get out of this guy's way. But he says that he's like a deer in the headlight. He's just he's stuck, and he's just staring into this man's eyes. And then the homeless man ducks into a shop, and he sort of comes to his senses, and he goes into the shop to look for the homeless man, and he's disappeared. So he goes back to the mall the next day looking for this homeless man, and he sees him sitting on a bench, and he starts talking to him. And it turns out that this homeless man is his spirit guide, and he called himself Albert. And Albert was appearing physically to Garnet, and he was there to wake him up and to do the work that he came to Earth to do. He thought he was going to be a lawyer and have a family, which he did because he was in his late 50s when this was happening. And he said, no, you're really here to do something else. You're here to work for me. And that is to write these books and to share with humanity, to expand the consciousness of humanity. And when you were talking before, we were talking about energy signatures, and Preston, both of you have these out-of-body experiences, but when you're in your astral form, usually, so you can recognize your brother or sister because they're appearing as their physical form, even though they look younger and healthier and more muscles and more hair. You can still recognize them. But Garnet shared with me once that I had him on the show about 8 times, haven't had him on for a few years, that he was talking to a couple of souls, if you like, or orbs of energy. So they were just energy orbs. And he was talking to them about their experiences as souls and where they had been and different places and different planets they had been. And they were looking at Earth. They were looking at Earth as a place to incarnate onto. But they were just energy, like that, and it's so strange for our human mind to think that you're talking to a soul or a being that just looks like a light, just like a
right, non-corporeal.
Yeah, and that energy signature again comes into that identifying, because you're not looking at feature or name, you're looking at energy. You're just looking at energy. And what was funny about this interaction he had with these souls, they looked at planet Earth and they said, oh, no, we're not going down there. Like, no, that looks too hard. And they didn't want to incarnate. But he had so many experiences with Garnet. I can't say he's my favorite, but at the time, because it was about a decade ago that he contacted me and I started having conversations with him, he expanded those paradigms broke, like all these mythical creatures that we thought were myth or story. He had met either in his physical or astral form with his spirit guide, Albert, and the reality of leprechauns and mermaids and fairies and Sasquatch and Bigfoot and all these myths that we had seen as myth, and trolls and incredible things that he's like, no, they all exist interdimensionally. They're in this Earth space, but they're in an interdimensional experience. And they used to be more physical before humanity got so warring and we became so violent. We used to commune with the fairies and the troll, the Sasquatch, and
different entities have been on this planet during different iterations. I can tell you about one that I know because I've met them. They're in the Delphi system, okay? And there's a particular system in there where it's mostly a water world, and they're kind of like dolphin-like people, like mermaids. And I've swam with them. I've gone off with them. And I was told explicitly, point blank, that they've been on this planet swimming here, living here and doing stuff. And that right about the time of the Anunnaki, they were still here then. And the Anunnaki have reliefs of them swimming. Okay. Right. And it's like, that's very, 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 very cool. And I said, well, what else? I have a memory of a prior lifetime way somewhere else, not here, of being a dragon. Nice. I was actually a dragon being. And Talata picked on me about it. He said, you still have that thing going on in you. You're like a dragon. You have that personality of what people expect a dragon to have. And and I laughed at him and I said, how would you know? And it's just because I was around. I saw that. And I thought, oh, and he's one of those beings that you're talking about. He's all light now. He's not. He doesn't have a body anymore. He's past that. And he goes where he wants and he does what he wants. And I tried to get him to show me what he looked like, He said, pick a time, pick a place. And I said, I don't know, pick the one funny thing.
Like what you said, Karen.
Yeah. Pick one.
Exactly.
And he showed up for me as an oracle from Greece. And I was like, oh, well, who else were you? And he's like, no, you can figure that out later. I gave you one. That's all you get. But when I think of him, when I remote to him, I either see him as the craft or I see him as huge light. That's all I see when I see him. He's huge light, and he's infinite light.
This is Talada. This is Talada.
Yeah.
All right, you guys ready to do some questions?
Sure.
Yeah. But Garnett's experiences are just what he does with Albert is he just has these short experiences and he puts them into the book. They're not, they're not expanded. So he's been to other planets and seen spider-like beings who source life on planets when they're forming, and he's been to many humanoid planets where they've evolved their society. There was a matriarchal planet. There was a planet where they had evolved beyond eating, but they loved the ritual of eating, so they'd taken that with them, and all the food was vegetarian, vegan food, in fact, but that social ritual of eating. And he's just seen, like his books, he's got 5 books out, just extensive. And so a decade ago, reading those books and hearing him, that blew my mind. I mean, you could call him crazy and say he's making it all up, but the man was a
I believe it. Absolutely.
You talk about personality. He's so dry. First, he called the first book Dancing on a Stamp. And I said, why'd you call it that? And he said, because I've been such a safe corporate type person that I never expanded my reality. And my guide said, like, he was dancing on a stamp. It's like his guide said, you've got the whole ballroom to play with and you're dancing on a stamp. And it really describes his personality. So he couldn't even hope to have that sort of imagination, really, to make up that stuff. But questions. Let's go to questions.
I like that story because you never know if you're walking down the street. You're entertaining angels unaware.
Not to entertain angels unaware, for they may be with you. Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly. That's very cool.
The funniest part of that story was that here is this man in a 3-piece suit, walking down the street, and he stopped by a homeless man, but nobody else could see Albert. He appeared physically. Garnett smelt him because he said he smelt like a dead fish, and he was scruffy and ugly looking and stank. And he touched him physically, but nobody else could see him. So he was basically sitting on a bench in a shopping mall talking to himself. As people were walking by, he thought he was talking to a physical human being.
Cool.
And I always wonder how spirit does that, like how they can appear physically to us so that we have that physical sensation of them. And yet I guess that the craft can do that too, right? Because some group of people can look up and see a craft, half of them can't see it, some of them can see it. So
like physically show up. I can actually remote my consciousness out and show myself to you. I can show
physically.
And people become astounded when I do it. They're like, I'm also not a white orb. I'm a blue orb, and I don't know why. I haven't figured that out yet. How come I'm not white and I'm blue? Maybe it's the level.
You might be that blue orb that's in my bedroom every night when I'm watching television. There's always this blue orb blinking in the corner. I'm like, who are you? This might be you, Dolly.
I'm thinking about you. That might be possible. Some people in my CE5 group deliberately tried to get me on film, and they did. I'd say, okay, I'm here, and they snap the camera, and boop, there it is, that big blue orb I am. And they would test me out, because I couldn't go to every time they had a CE5. I would be remoting from Florida because they were in Georgia, and I would tell them what they were doing, what was going on. It'd freak them all out. They're like, "Stop that!" And I'm like, "You can do it too. Everybody can do this. Not a problem."
It's funny. The story you told me reminds me of a guy at work who came up to me and said, "Maybe you can explain what happened to me." And I'm like, okay, what happened? He said, well, I walked into a Taco Bell and this guy came running up to me and started calling me the master. And I'm so glad you came back to Earth and you're going to do important work. And I love you so much. He's like, I don't know this guy at all. But he was all over him, practically worshiping him, and then ran off. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. That sounds weird.
I don't know.
I don't know. But yeah, let's get to some of these questions because we are going to run out of time. All right. I'm going in order, guys. So please forgive me if I don't get to.
Let me answer that one. Love the show. So how does chi work? I have my ideas of it. You might know better. But, chi is that energetic source of the body that's connected to the physical running of the body, like the electrical pulse of the body. Chi, prana, It's connected to the breath, and it's
Yeah.
the same
Chi and
energy.
prana, the same thing. You
Same
have a, yeah, it's
Acupuncture, when you do acupuncture, it taps into your chi and releases blocks in the way the energy is moving around the body. That's called chi or prana. But it is also connected to the electrical current of the body, which is,
right.
I suppose, what we can measure with our instruments. And so we call it physical.
Yeah.
It's electricity. Is it physical? Again, it's just energy running.
Your
But
consciousness is energy, okay? It's electric. And when you come together during conception, it's your energy that ignites the energy in the cells, okay? And it's
Yeah.
your energy that builds the body, okay,
Mhm.
from the DNA available. And that is chi, that is prana. You become a physical form of prana. When you pass away and you leave the body, that energy that made that body goes with you. It is that energy that you have to take with you to come back again, okay? That's your doorway here or anywhere you want to go. And most people don't understand that if you're blocked from that somehow, if it's blocking you, three things can do that. Heavy duty electromagnetic energy all around you, like telephone poles, big transfer stations and stuff like that, can mess with the prana in your body, the electrical conductivity of it, and it can make it hard for your pineal gland to work right. That's why they say ground to the earth, because that drops all of that electricity away from you. The earth is a grounding element. That's why you ground to earth. And the other one is to stay out of enclosed spaces with a lot of that electricity around you. You unblock that way. So what do? We build these huge cities where all this electricity, electromagnetic, everything, blah, 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 Wi-Fi, wire, everything, wired up houses, and people wonder why they're having a hard time. Go out into nature, ground, and then work yourself the way you should be operating. Period.
I saw a chi master who he had all these younger acolytes, monks lined up kind of like a conga line, and he was touched the one in front. They all knocked over like dominoes. He could push the chi right so strong through them. I mean, he was a master at this. It's a powerful force.
There's a viral video going around of a Asian chi master using his chi to light newspapers on fire from a distance and to push nails through walls, and he was doing all these tricks. And the guy who filmed that, I had him on the show actually. God, I think of his name. It's called Something of Fire, and it was these two brothers were filming in the 80s in the archipelago and in Bali. He lives in Bali now, but and he would contact people's chi, and he'd make their bodies move by just pressing parts of their bodies, and the electricity of their bodies were moving their bodies like involuntarily. And he talks about creating that chi, like he could stop a bullet. He could catch a bullet by using the chi to slow the bullet down. Like, he was incredible. It's all out there on the internet.
Wow.
I can put the link in there. I can't remember what his name was. Anyway, and what was I going to say about this? That's right. He was talking about the yin and the yang energy that he felt in his body. Like he was saying, your base chakra and your solar plexus chakra, if you bring that energy together and then force it out, that's creating what he's using as chi to do all the tricks that he did: create fire, stop bullets, heal people. Yeah, it's amazing.
You see people do this spontaneously when they have to lift a car off of somebody who's crushed under it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a story that Abraham Lincoln was able to punch nails into the wall with his fist. I don't know if that's true. It's apocryphal, but I wonder about it. Abraham Lincoln was a pretty amazing guy.
All these superheroes that we see on Marvel shows and stuff like that can do all this stuff. I mean, it's not complete fantasy. When we harness the power of energy and mind, and we understand who we are as these electrical, physical, non-physical, multidimensional beings. Yeah, we can do that. Imagine stopping a bullet with your hand. That's just catching it. Yeah, anything's possible. Anything is possible. More questions.
This one's from Andrew Rollins. I'm not sure if you can answer this, Karen, but probably you can, Dolly. Question, or it's clarification for me. What's the fog-like stuff around a craft while it's high in the sky? What is the fog-looking stuff when they're on the ground?
Yeah, that's a Dolly question.
I have some insight into this too, but I'm interested what Dolly says.
The energy that the craft is creating heats up the air in its plasma, emanating around the craft from the heat of it. It's usually hotter than 27,000 degrees, and it, depending on what elements it's coming in contact with inside our atmosphere, it can change color. But mostly it's white, pure white out of our atmosphere, and it's high density plasma. That's what's surrounding the craft.
Yeah, and they can do this intentionally too. There's case
Yeah,
after
they can power. Well, they power up. When you go from batteries, you know, you get a certain amount of plasma with that. But once you leave the atmosphere, then they bring the nuclear element alive and they power up, and you'll see it. It'll flashbulb. At that point, you'll see the energy of it expands suddenly for a brief second, and then it'll reach arc. In other words, it'll arc back in on itself, and it'll be very, very bright. And every time they accelerate the energy going through the conduits, it'll plasma out. That's what that is. So it's very cool.
Okay, Osiris 101. Do any of you have an alien chip implant in you if you are aware of it? Dolly does. She's made.
Dolly does. I'm sure you guys do. I'm not aware of any of mine.
Because I had a chicken attack me, and it's covering. You can't see it, but I have an implant in my hand right here. It's in the book. You can see it clearly in the book. And then I have one in my sinus, and then I have another one in my upper thigh. The one in my sinus listens to my heart and my cardiovascular system, and the one in my thigh listens to my endocrine system. It's right on top of one of my nodes.
The main purpose, health.
Yes. Yeah, and it's just they keep a tap on me that way. They know what's going on with me. They can consciously, psychically hook up with me, but they're watching my body and they're making sure that I'm okay.
I'm going to say that the vast majority, if not without exception, of contactees do have implants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of people do, and they're probably not what you would call a contact, because we all are essentially contactees. They're aware of all of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
Just I have 3 because they wanted them. I took the one out of my sinus, moved itself down one day, and I felt it, and I got my finger on it, and I went and got nurse. I got all kinds of tools. Okay, so I went and got a pair of forceps, and I got my forceps around it, and I started poking at it, and then I got a scalpel, and I popped it out, and I put it on the table, and it looked metal at first, and then it fuzzied up, and then it completely crumbled apart. I was like,
wow.
I've
seen that in a movie. I saw that in a movie. I was watching something on Netflix or Prime or Disney, one of those.
Yeah, I was a teenager. I know. I was like 21 not a teenager. I was a young woman. I was about 21 or 22. And they waited about 4 months for me to heal up, and they put another one right back in there.
Oh, they put another one in?
Leave it alone. So now this one, I can still palpate it, and I can go tink, tink, tink. You can hear it when I pop it. Go pink, pink, pink. And then the one on my thigh, I've shown. Yeah, he's heard it. Preston's heard it. And then I showed him the one in my thigh. It's huge. It's about this big. And it vibrates every now and then. And I don't know why it vibrates. Sometimes it's warning me that I'm getting sick, and it'll vibrate. Strangely. Really? If it doesn't like you, it will dig deeper into my leg. And that I can feel. It moves down to get away from you.
Some will show up in x-rays, yes. Some will show up in MRIs, not always. And they can disappear and come back. They can move around.
Yeah.
These things are very, very advanced. And they will dissolve often if removed.
And the oxygen hits it. If you take it out of the body, it will go.
But
the one on my head is a little bit more complicated. They actually surgically put that one in my hand. They knocked me out for it. I mean, I have a scar right there where it went in, and I didn't even know they were going to do it. They just did it. They took me out and popped me out and popped it in, and I came to and had a sore hand for a couple of days, and it was explained to me immediately. That's the next step in you flying. Leave it alone. And I learned what it was for. And this is an energy device on my hand. It's electromagnetic. It has a charge. If you put like a compass around me or anything metallic that has a pole on it, charge it, I can move it around with it. It won't stay. I can operate it by moving my hand around it. I can spin a compass with my hand. And and what happened is when they put that in my hand, everything that I put on my body now, if I have like a watch, anything electric, my phone, I put my phone on speaker, because if I hold in my hand accidentally, I knock I think I did that to my phone today. I had my phone in my wrong hand and I knocked it out, and I made things happen to my phone, and I kept like, what did I do? And it was the Bluetooth. It affected the Bluetooth in my phone, and it made my phone turn the sound off. I was so mad.
Funny, I was talking to a contactee, or she was doing a channeling session. This was private, and she was talking to someone else. And he asked, "Do I have any implants?" And she said, "Yes, you have 1, 2, 3, 4." And I blurted out, "That's a lot." And the channeler turns and looks at me and says, "You have more." I'm like,
Oh, wow.
like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think they're
Oh,
done.
wow.
Yeah.
All right. Here is another. You want it?
Do you have one? Karen?
Me? I don't know if I do, but I was watching a documentary and I can't remember what streaming platform it was on. It was about John Mack. John Mack was the hypnotherapist, right? Wasn't it?
Right.
And it was about this case of this woman. It's called the Something Encounter, where she was taken out of the window and she was floating in New York. I think it's called the New York
Bridge. Yeah.
The New York Encounter, and they x-rayed her, and she had one like a spiral run in her nose. But what was shocking about this documentary, it was John Mack's wife, and she came out and said while he was still alive that it was all BS.
Oh, this is Bud Hopkins we're talking about.
Yeah, Rainy.
Bud Hopkins.
Bud Hopkins. Sorry, Bud Hopkins. Got the wrong person. Yeah, Bud Hopkins. Yeah.
There's a new documentary out. It's lighting up the internet. People are in controversy over it.
I know.
Okay. So what's your view on it? I thought that I thought she was genuine. Yeah, she loved this limelight. Yeah, she loved it. She loved the attention. Doesn't mean she was lying. But anyway, what do you think about that?
I think it's a legit case. I spoke directly with Bud Hopkins.
You did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I talked about it because it's a wild case.
Yeah.
And
before she
I
passed away.
outside witnesses too.
Yeah. Before she died, I had a couple of conversations with her on the internet. And because I challenged her. And it was the second interaction that I had with her that made me realize that I think that she's the government got to her.
So who are you talking about? She, the woman that had the abduction, or the wife?
The wife.
Yeah.
I think that they got to discredit the husband. Yeah.
Okay. So it is on Netflix. It's called The Manhattan Alien Abduction on Netflix. I watched it the other night. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's suing Netflix, by the way.
Who is? She is.
The witness, Linda Napolitano.
Yeah.
She's suing Netflix. Why?
Because they did a hatchet job on her. It was not.
I didn't think so.
Portrayed.
Yes, they don't want the truth.
It was negative.
That's the truth. Yeah, well, she's an actual witness. Come on.
I didn't think it was negative. I believed her. I thought she was credible. I thought that the wife was the one that was bitter and twisted. I thought she was all bitter and twisted. People
are saying, but it's a big controversy right now. It just came out, so I haven't seen it yet.
I did. I watched it the other night. Anything that comes out like that, I'm like, oh, let me watch this. I have no life. I've only got the Netflix.
Yeah, I think it's a legit case, and she's telling the truth.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
I do too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Anyway, back to questions. What time is it?
Okay, we still have some time here, 20 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is from AAO. Do you guys know what ships have womb rooms in them? A half circle shape, kind of like a pizza oven. Dolly, do you want to answer that?
Every craft has the ability to act as a transport of fetuses. It's equipment that they bring on board, or they can bring up from storage or whatever, and they transfer it. So it's anytime, any place, anywhere. If they need one, they will send one out. People have described being in rooms with many of them all at one time, and those would be motherships.
Yeah.
Literally. And so if they've seen that, then they were literally on a mothership and didn't realize what they were actually.
I once had an OBE like that, where I went to the baby place where all the people were about to be born. It was the coolest thing. Wow. It was really cool. I forgot about that.
So when you went to the baby place, was this on a ship, or is this in
in spirit on the other side?
Spirit, on the other side. So souls or aspects were waiting to go.
Yeah, but there are all these babies around there. I'm like, it was a little confusing to me because you expect a person to be all grown up and then they become a little. That's not what I experienced.
Yeah, that's how they showed it.
Michael Newton's books, I think that it's his books, talks about that through his hypnosis sessions. The Journey of Souls, Michael Newton's books. and how the consciousness dovetails with the consciousness of the body and the baby. Because, if we're infinite intelligence coming into a physical experience, how does a baby be so unaware? Like, how can we be so unaware? So
You're not.
we
That's
have
the
to
problem.
obviously mesh with
that.
the
You're 100% aware when you're born. You're absolutely aware when you're born. Unless your mother's using fluoride all the time, because you can pass through the placenta into the baby as well. If your mother's, like clean from that, you're 100% aware. And literally, that's why children say things that you go, woo, or they see things, or they hear things, or they tell you things. They're 100% aware. They're just, doing what they do. And then humanity goes, no, stop.
Yeah. Well, but the body has a consciousness as well. And he talked about how the soul meshes with the body consciousness and the baby consciousness. The baby cries because of this and that.
Your
But
consciousness
there are
the whole way through. From conception to birth, your consciousness is already programming your physical mind to know what's what and who's who and what you are. In other words, it's like you're the programmer. You're programming yourself, and your awareness is complete in your mind. Most babies understand whatever language they're going into. They know who they're talking to. They taught babies sign language so that they could have conversations with them at 3, 4, and 5 months. And it's astounding what they learn that they actually understand and know. And the only way that can happen is if your consciousness is in there alive and operating already, teaching your physical mind what's what. That's how that works. Your consciousness is not an entity that is outside of you. It is you. It's just operating with you through a gland in your brain, the pineal gland, which is a gland, because it can transmit and receive signal. Okay, it's just a signal. When you turn on your computer, you got a screen that lights up and you got a keyboard. That's the signal between the keyboard and your computer talking. We've got the same thing in our head. That's a technical way of explaining it to you. This is an actual physical living entity that is in communion with the body. And it is the body too. It's together. And when you OBE at night, you're not unplugging the computer and turning it off, the body. You're just sending the signal out. It leaves out, and you can still be in contact with your physical body. Most people who OBE will tell you that I am aware of what my body's doing. If somebody walks in the room with me, I know they're there, even though I'm OBE. I'm perfectly capable of defending myself if I'm fully OBE in the physical body, because I'm still aware of what my body's doing or what's going on around it. That's important to understand, that this is you. Your consciousness is you, and it's operating your physical mind as itself. We're one. That's who you are. You don't change when you pass from this body. When you leave this body, exactly who you are is who you are, and you go on as.
You're not your body. You're not your experiences. You're not your thoughts. You're your awareness.
Consciousness. Yes.
Awareness, consciousness. When I was a child, I never felt like I was a child. I felt like I was an adult in a child's body, and I couldn't understand why people treated me like a child. And when I was at school, and I think I might have said this before, but teachers would say, "Hi Betty, how was your weekend?" And then they'd say, "Swain, what are you doing there?" And treat us so badly. I'm like, why do people see that we're all just the same? We're just like, why is a child treated differently to an adult? And even when I was a baby, and I couldn't wait to grow up and be an adult. And people were like, "Enjoy your childhood years; they're the best years." And I felt like people who feel like they're in the wrong body, like I'm in this little body. It's not. I just couldn't wait to grow up, which was kind of crazy. But Mum gave me that opportunity because she's like out of here, and I'm 16, and we're all alone. So at 16. I'm dating people in their 30s, and I'm like driving cars illegally. I'm like operating as an adult at 16.
Wow. Well, you want to grow up, so there you go.
I got my wish. Now I wish I was a child. And people would cook for me and clean my house and look after me. Oh, that'd be good.
I grew up with a lot of adults around, and they treated me very much respectfully like an adult. My opinion mattered. It was really
nice.
Cool.
That's nice.
We should all treat that.
Because of that experience. because of that experience, I treat children like intelligent beings, not like children. Even when I was young and I was working in a frock shop, selling expensive clothes, a woman came in with her young daughter, 3 or 4 or 5 years old, and the daughter was fussing and carrying on, and the mother was trying to try on the clothes. And I said to the daughter, look, I'm really hungry. Do you mind going next door and buying me a sandwich and a juice? Because, that would really help me while I serve your mother. Like, I talked to this little kid like an adult. And I spoke to something inside this being, because just like Dolly has said, we're all consciousness. We know that we're an extension of source. We know who we are, even when we're playing these roles of child and female and male and old and young and whatever, black and white. The kid, I connected with something in the kid, and it just shut her up. And she looked at me with these big eyes like, how did you know I'm in here? Like, how did you know? And then the mother looked at me, and she looked at the kid, and she said, what did you say to my daughter? She didn't understand how I just stopped her complaining and being fidgety and complaining. But I spoke to the soul, the intelligence inside the body of this little kid. And and I'm sure that the little kid, I felt that the little kid knew that she knew she could do it, but she couldn't do it because she was only 3 or 4 years old. Go next door and buy a sandwich, you know what I mean? But she knew that she could do it. Anyway, we can speak to children and as intelligence rather than as children. That was something I was kind of passionate about, because I felt that. I felt like I never felt like a child. Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, more questions.
Okay.
All right, here's a question from Keith Rothwell. Question: do you give readings? I don't. Dolly has. I don't think you don't.
It's
do it.
Not that I don't charge anybody or anything. If you have a question you want to ask me on Messenger. I'll answer you. To do that, that's not my path. That's not what I do. Every now and then I will get somebody who is very in need suddenly, because they need somebody who's a medium or a psychic to assist them, and I do that. I will reach out back out to them and help them in any way that I can. It just depends on the timing of it or whatever, or if I'm available. Some people, I've heard something and I immediately respond because I'm already connecting up to it and realize, oh my God, they do need this information, and I will give it to them. People, when you want a reading, ask yourself why, because a lot of things that you want to know are things that you can figure out for yourself, that you're psychic enough to figure out for yourself. And I encourage people to go that route before they ask somebody to tell them, because it's not you telling you, it's somebody else.
Book a session with KAren. She'll help you out.
That's the thing about readings. Any form of spiritual guidance is everybody knows the truth within them. Just like I said, the kid knew the truth that they could do, but they need that reassurance that they know it. I don't think you reach out to get any information you don't already know. You just want that confirmation of what you know is true. I think that's what you're looking for when you're looking for a reading, because when you tell people who they are and what they're capable of, there is some part of them that knows that as their truth. Even though their ego mind might say, no, I can't do that. No, I can't do that. I can't do that. There's some other aspect of them that says, of course you can. And, which wolf do you feed? What do they say? Which wolf do you feed? Like, where do you put your energy? The one that says you can, or the one that says you can't? Yeah.
All right. Here is a question from Leah. And this is hard to answer, Leah, because this is your personal experience and only you would know best. But let's ask it. May I ask what the whirling sound I heard was during an EEG after head trauma? I was in paralysis, but heard the whirling sound louder and louder. That to me sounds like the vibratory state right before you go OBE. It sounds just like a rushing, whirling. I mean, it can be very loud, but that's what it sounds like to me. That would be my first response.
I concur.
Yeah. During an EEG, as a nurse, I can tell you this with impunity. I know how this occurs. In EEG, they will ask you to close your eyes. They will ask you to imagine something or think of something. They will ask you to seek a certain frequency like alpha, which is very clean, clear, nothing is going on. They'll ask you to think about something, or they'll play a sound for you, whatever, and they're watching how your brain is reacting to it during the EEG. What occurs for some people while they're doing this is they actually, your pineal gland goes whoop, 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 and it will let signal in on you, and you can hear feedback from it. You'll actually like Preston said, actually start to OBE and go into the vibratory state. It's an interesting situation. I wish that they would do more studies on what EEGs do to people during an EEG, and the ritual of what they ask you to do, and how they'll even put flashing lights at you, trying to get you to have a seizure if you have, they're suspecting epilepsy or whatever. And different parts of the brain can have different types of epilepsy. Like there's temporal lobe epilepsy, there's global epilepsy. There's just all kinds of things going on in your head. And they can signal you to go into that vibratory state. It's one of the things that can happen. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Wow.
Okay, well, ready for the next one?
Sure.
Yeah.
CT
Shoot.
Guitar Guy 85 says, I always thought the point was to eliminate thought. We were talking about meditation way back then. It's almost impossible to eliminate thought. If you're a very advanced, yogi or something, I mean, you can get there. I don't think I've ever been able to fully do that, but you can step away from it and watch it go by.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you can lay down in your mind. You go to the dark room, okay, where all you see is phosphenes in your eyes. Okay, you see swirlies and purples and reds and different things, and you're doing nothing. And that's the black blank chalkboard. And when you experience that, it's the experience that you should go into, because that's when you stop thinking. You shut that part of your brain down and you go into alpha. Meditation, you need to go into alpha wave. And alpha wave is the blank chalkboard where nothing is going on, no thought, no nothing. You're in the dark and you're in the quiet, and that's why the body needs to be relaxed. That's the physicality of what you're doing. And once you realize that that's what that is, revel in it, lay in it like a sauna, or a hot tub, just enjoy it. But you have to be aware when you do it. And the intention is for you to hear what's coming at you. Because once you go to the blank, you're not thinking, and any signal coming into you will be heard by you. That's what you got to do. But it's alpha wave. And some people like to get a little singing bowl, you take the little
crystal ball, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not crystal, E minor, A minor can put you into alpha. That's the frequency of alpha. Okay. And you hear that, and you hear that tone, and then you go in your mind and you see, I'm already there. I'm already in the black chalkboard while I'm talking to you, but I'm already solidly conscious all the time. So I can do it at will. You should be able to do that, but you go within to go without, or to hear without, actually.
Just don't beat yourself up if you don't immediately get it. Because I would meditate, a big brass band is playing with cymbals, and then people are talking. It's like, gosh, this is a lot of noise in my head I wasn't even aware of.
Yeah, you just come into alpha. It's the alpha waves in your brain that you want to get. Theta waves are for thinking and for cognitive stuff and learning and blah, 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 blah. Delta is where your body's operating, okay, and doing things, and any side notes that you've got going on come in on delta waves. Beta waves are really interesting because beta watches everything that's going on. Beta will react to any other wave you've got while you're thinking, and you can actually, beta is where more than one personality can show up in your head. People who split often are in beta wave when they do that. So yeah, it's very cool. Think about it, read about it. Y'all get a psychology book and read about this stuff. Your brain waves and EEGs and all this stuff. Learn about it, because you can shut down thought in your head, but it's all in alpha. You have to reach that frequency in your brain that you're transmitting at. That's who you are. And just go there, and it goes black and you're nothing. And then you'll hear. No kidding.
Groucho Trout, I love your comments. You sound like a really interesting fellow. Okay.
Oh, I missed that one. What was that one? I missed it.
Oh, I unstarred it. I can't find it now. I'll go back to it to see if I can find it. But
the thing about having no thought, I think that you can reach a point of frequency where the thoughts are in alignment with the energy of your soul, like the frequency or the energy of your soul, and it's like they're not annoying you. You're not thinking anymore, and these are thoughts of unity and appreciation and love, and where it feels like you've got no thought. But if you really listen, you're still thinking, but the thoughts are all in this higher frequency. So it feels like emptiness. But I don't think that there is ever like no thought, because everything is created and operates on this thought frequency. I mean, we talked about this last time, Preston. The causal realm is that place where all thought creates everything. That
laser
is always talking. The universe is talking all the time. It's very, very chatty. It never turns off. You can turn your physical brain down, though. No sound.
Yeah,
that's what alpha is about. That's what I mean. I'll give you another example of how to see it. We're thinking and we hear ourselves talking. Stop listening to yourself. Okay, turn the volume off.
Oh my gosh, we're almost out of time.
Okay.
Oh no. Oh, we are too. 1 minute to go.
Okay, do another question. Hurry.
Okay, here's another question I wanted to get to. Are we just light? Chris 89.
Just light. I just light. Yeah. Just light. Think about what's inside light. Everything is energy and everything is light and everything is vibration. And so everything is light and everything is sound. And I think we perceive light through the eyes, but everything is light. Like I think I shared with you last time that I had that experience of seeing the matrix of the world, that it was all see-through, it was all luminous, it was all like light. Everything that I looked at was just light, energy, light. And I could see through the walls and I could see through everything. Like everything's light, but what is light? Like it's energy and information, infinite information.
It's electricity, it's your consciousness, pure consciousness. Because you don't see your body as light because we're in the third dimension, we're gravity heavy here. Okay, so everything is and your physical body can't perceive it as it really is. Some people can perceive it in a way because they see your aura. They see the energy surrounding you. That's the light emanating from every cell in your body and your consciousness. But we are pure light. Everything is light, all of it. Okay, if you want to levitate, learn that because you can lift your physical body with the light energy that you actually are. You can take it up.
Now let's see if we can answer 5 more questions in under 1 minute. Because we really have to stop.
Okay.
Is astrology really meaningful? Yes, done correctly.
Okay, next question.
Do we each have our own symbol, tone, vibrational signature? Dolly, you talked about how we all have our own song.
You do. You actually have your own signal. You think in a frequency that's all you, nobody else, just you. Okay.
Joe Smith. Preston, do you know of the 2-dimensional beings? Ever heard of them? They look painted on a board. Shadow beings. Yeah. Definitely there are beings in the 2nd dimension.
Yes.
What is Saturn's energy signature? It's unique to Saturn.
Ooh. Saturn is the loudest connector in our system. It's noisy beyond noisy beyond noisy. It is like you can find Saturn first.
All right, time's up.
In our system, boop, Saturn.
Okay. How does one practice remote viewing? Meditation. There's a lot of guides on this. We're going to do a remote viewing show in a couple of days.
That'd be cool.
Have you ever seen a spaceship? Yes, we all have. I really wish we could travel at will, astral travel at will. You can. Email me. I will send you a guide.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all we have time for.
What a blast. Time always goes so quickly with you guys. Just love you guys. You are the best. As I say, I watch a lot of your shows. I guess that I haven't watched the last couple of ones because I've been busy, but I like to tune into the Light Gate and and the shows that you put up every week.
Preston
can tell you, I'll turn you on. I'll be on my phone. We're watching TV, whatever. And there's Karen, and it's like, I'm watching Karen. Yeah.
So any last words, Karen?
Thank you for having me on the show. It's a blast to be with you guys. You're doing amazing work, and as I say, because I'm just intensely curious about all sorts of things. So I watch a lot of stuff and your name pops up quite often, Preston. So you're really getting out there. Your work is being appreciated. And we just really appreciate all the work that the two of you are putting into the world to expand the human consciousness and disclosure, to make aware of our cosmic brothers and sisters and what is possible when we learn to harness the power of mind and energy. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me on the show, guys. Love you.
We love you too.
We're gonna rebook, okay?
Thank
and get all your to go and subscribe to my channel and see if I could, because it has not moved for years. I mean, I reckon that YouTube just unsubscribes people. I don't understand it. Anyway, but I don't worry about it anymore.
I want to thank you guys for the super chats. Raul, namaste. You guys are amazing. You really were so giving today. Wes Decker, amazing. Christopher Harmon, Cliff Ollinger, Larry Hank. You guys are just amazing. Leah, thank you so much. Star Orchid, Wow, you guys, Sunny, Burnett,
Wow.
Stephen, thank you so much. All of you guys in chat. It was such a wonderful show. So thank you for joining us.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. This has been the Light Gate at the United Public Radio Network in the beautiful city of New Orleans at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We are on Roku, we are on Rumble, we are on Facebook, and we are on YouTube. I want you all to have a lovely, lovely week. And remember,
shout out to Carnation again. Thank you.
Yes, out. And remember this, Carolyn Burbridge said it, ask, 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 and then do, okay? We all got this. You just work at it. It'll happen. Love y'all. Bye.